Okay, welcome back. We're in the middle of creating a new Microsoft Word document based upon a template. And so there's a list of available templates. I'm just going to click on calendars, pick kind of an ordinary looking one. I'm going to say go ahead and, I don't know, how about this one? I click on this guy, and then now I can say, you know, select the month. So, okay, May, that's fine. Hit the button. Yep. Cool. So now I basically have a document, which is kind of cool. It's got all sorts of stuff in it. And I can go in here and just put things together. So I'm still in Microsoft Word. It's just kind of a cool template, a way to start rather than starting from scratch. And they have lots and lots of templates, and they actually have a template gallery online. And for example, I didn't actually have this gallery, this template. When I clicked on it, it pulled it down from the internet. How long did it take? What, a second? So cool stuff. I even kind of recommend you poke around through this and find things that you think are kind of interesting. Just play. It's kind of cool. Okay, so let's continue. I'm not going to demo Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint and those kind of things because we're going to be doing an entire video on those guys. Alright, so I am going to show you a couple more things. And this is yet another shortcut. I know there's a gazillion shortcuts out there. So I'm going to close all these guys. Yeah, fine. Okay, so I'm going to close this guy. And I'm not going to make any changes. Okay, so I'm back here. So I'm at my documents directory. And let's say I just want to create a new Word document right there. Well, you can. And once again, as in computers, there's always like 5 different ways of accomplishing the same thing. Yeah. Well, one of the things you can do is you can do right-click. Just right-click anywhere in an empty spot in my folders. Okay, an empty spot. I don't want to click on an icon. Click on the empty spot, and there's a menu for New. And if I hover over New, one of the things is a Word document. Now, I must confess, I don't really understand the order in which these things are in. I've never really quite figured it out. For example, they're not in alphabetical order. There's no particular... It doesn't appear to be any order whatsoever. I'm sure somebody can figure it out. So if I just click this, it's going to create me a blank Word document. It's going to be using that blank template that we just had. And here I can type in, you know, recipe or, you know, letter to mom, whatever, you know. Letter to mom. Now, I have successfully created a Microsoft Word document. What's it got in it? Well, nothing, of course. So once again, double-clicking, and then I get a blank guy with a letter to mom. Okay, kind of makes sense? Cool. All right. Let's talk about some stuff where I'm in here and I finished this thing and I realized, oh man, I didn't want to send it to mom. I really was trying to send this to dad. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to rename the file to make it mean something. Now, you don't rename a file from inside Microsoft Word. Okay, that's just not what it does for a living. Now, admittedly, you could open this document and then do a save as and be provided an opportunity to give it a new name. That would work. Yes, that would absolutely work. But then I'd end up with 2 copies. The letter to mom would not be changed, and then I'd have a duplicate copy called letters to dad. And although that kind of sort of works, I don't need 2 identical documents on my computer cluttering up my storage space. So it makes more sense to not do this from inside Microsoft Office. So all I'm going to do is just right click on this file icon. So I just right click, and one of the things is rename. Okay, it's pretty simple. And it's going to light up exactly what, you know, it kind of helps you out. It lights up things in blue here. And so I can just type letter to dad. And so now I have renamed a file. Now, I could have gone in and tried to rename a little bit more, you know, like rename the file extension, but if you do that, it'll kind of mess things up. That's why when it highlighted the parts, it actually highlighted the parts what it thinks that you want to change. It did not highlight the .dock in there. Okay, so that's renaming a file. Let's talk about moving and copying a file. So remember, I've got this guy called Poems here, right? And if I look inside this guy, it's got new poem. Well, now it's not very organized because I've got documents here with poems and things without poems, and it's just kind of weird. So here are two poems that really kind of belong in here. So I want to move poem to the poems folder. And once again, I'm not doing this from inside Microsoft Word because that would be kind of creepy. It'd be the same scenario. You know, open it in one place and save it in the other place. Well, that works, but that's like copying it. I would have two identical copies of it. I don't want that. I just want to move it. And so the easiest way to move it is just to drag and drop the icon where you want it. So just using the normal plain old, left mouse button, I grab this guy and just nudge him over here. And as soon as I get in here, it tells me what it's going to do. It says move to poems. Now, why would it tell me that? Is it possible? I'm going to undo this. I'm just going to let go. Is it possible that when I do this from some other location, that might change? What do you think? Well, there's some really strange rules. All right, so I'm going to expand this, pretend like this is my thumb drive again. If I'm going to grab this and drop this onto here, it says copy. Wait a minute. So when I drag it to here, it says move. But when I drag it to here, it says copy? All I'm doing the same thing. How in the world can it be doing two different things? Well, here are the rules. If I'm moving it inside the same file system, and don't worry about the definition, but for example, if I'm moving it from someplace on my C drive to someplace else on my C drive, it's going to move. If I'm moving it from my C drive to my E drive, which is my thumb drive, it's going to default to a copy. Okay? So between drive letters, the default is copy. Within drive letters, the default is move. So I'm going to grab this guy, drop him in here, and doink, he disappears from his location. Now, I already have something inside my poem directory called new poem, right? So let's do this. Let's grab this guy, and let's move him here, and it should come up and say, dude, there's already one there. What would you like me to do? So I might say, well, I don't know. I'm just going to say cancel for the time being. So here you have a choice. Do I want to overwrite the one? And it does give you some cool hints on like which one is larger and which one has the date timestamp. For example, this one is slightly newer and slightly larger. So more than likely that is the one. Okay. I tell you what, I'm just for practice, I'm going to rename this, and I'm just going to call this one. And instead of typing the entire thing, now watch this. I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard here, okay? See how instead of having the whole thing highlighted now, because all I want to do is add something right there to say new poem 2. I could have, since it was all highlighted, I could have typed new poem 2, but I don't like typing, so I just used the arrow key to go to where I wanted and add an extra item on there. So I hit the return key. Now I have renamed the file without doing hardly any typing. Now when I grab this guy, dropping into here, he's not going to complain because there's no file collision. Cool? Alright, so that's copying, and that's moving. Now, of course, the next thing is deleting. I go in here and I go, I really don't need both new poem and new poem 2. This is the newer one, and so I really don't really need this guy. So once again, I'm going to right-click with the mouse button. Right-click, and one of the things you can do is delete. And so I hit delete, and doink. It says, are you sure you want to delete this? Yeah, I think I am. And of course, if you go, oh my goodness, that's not what I wanted, well, all it did was just go to the recycle bin. It's not physically gone. It's just no longer showing up here. Cool? Okay, so we've deleted files, we've resized forms, we've done all sorts of cool stuff. This is probably a good place to stop. Now, this is kind of an introduction to Windows 7. Now, I'll admit, if you go down to a box store and you buy you a brand new computer today and bring it home, it's probably not going to have Windows 7 in it. So all the things I showed you about the copying and renaming and the rules, all that is 100% applicable to Windows 8 and beyond. The only difference in Windows 8 is how the heck you got to this start menu. Okay, the start menu is radically different, but other than that, everything is the same. All those templates are the same. All this thing about drilling down, you just drill down a slightly different way, you know, to be able to get to Microsoft Office. The same kind of things. Okay, cool. Now, before we leave, I just want to show you, if Microsoft Word is something that you use a great deal, I want to copy it to the desktop somewhere. So if I go to Microsoft Office and go down to here and I just do a right click, one of the things it says is, you know, pin to the start menu, which is okay. Pin to the taskbar, which is this guy at the bottom down here. But I don't see one that says copy shortcut to the desktop. Don't have that. But I can do this way. I can just say copy. Okay. And we're going to do a paste operation. So copy. Now I'm going to go to my desktop, do a right click. And so instead of doing paste, which would paste the real thing, I want to paste the shortcut. Doink. So now, if I use Microsoft Word a lot, I don't like drilling down. Of course, this would be the same thing in Windows 8, is pick the things you want, put them on your desktop, or put them on the taskbar, one of the two, whatever makes you happy. And so now I can just quickly go to Microsoft Word, and it always exactly is where I want it to be. Cool. That way, no drilling down, knowing. So let's say you spend an awful lot of time with Windows Explorer and Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft Word. Well, I'd put 2 or 3 of those guys. I'd put Word, I'd put Outlook, I'd put Internet Explorer. You know, whatever it is you use a lot, you know, pin it to your desktop. Okay, so that concludes this portion of the presentation. Now this is married after that optional book, right? And so if you've made it through this entire book, I mean, this entire lecture, and you're nodding your head going, yeah, I know. Well, then probably you won't need the textbook. Now, if any part of this you're going, wait, you're going too fast, let me take some notes, okay? If that's the case, then yeah, you need the optional textbook. Okay, so that concludes yet another video lecture. We'll see you guys again at some other lecture.